It's a lot going on because of, you know, the presidency, um, you know, stuff like the stand up, etc. A lot of the relations that we once held kindred, to aren't there like we thought they were, and you have stuff like what happened in Minnesota with the PPP loans happening, and then it coming out that a lot of Somalis supported MAGA. So now there are a lot of people in Africa that are distancing themselves from the Somalis, but the Somalis had always distanced themselves from Africa, saying that they're Arabians and not Africans. And, you have that going on. And, you have over here people saying, oh, they need to go back over there. You know what I'm saying? They're not black anyway. They're not American, So it's this lot. It's a feeling of not being to identify for a lot of American born Africans because like there's a lot of chaos really going on. And it's like it's like am I American because I was born here? But America right now has told me that I'm not American, right? But am I African? But the Africans are telling me I'm not African because I'm born over here. Or the East Africans are telling me that we're not the same because, they're claiming to be Arabians. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're continental African. Like it's a lot of that stuff going on, man. So um to answer the question, do you have a culture? Do I have a culture? Yes, I feel like I do. I just feel like there's a lot of miseducation going on right now, and that's adding to the chaos, you know. But I do feel like I have a culture. I'll let you guys elaborate more on that, because I didn't prep for the question. But
Yeah. I feel like this is like very location specific in terms of having this conversation. I feel like it's a conversation everywhere, but I feel like it's more of a conversation in certain places around the world than it is in other places. Like I feel like certain places like, have like racial issues that kind of stick out to where, it kind of, brings out this sort of question, kind of like to what you were saying, Cloud, about, where you're in a place like that, and if you're like African but born in America, where you start having more of these conversations as to, okay, am I more American and black, or am I like more African? You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like for me, it was never really a question because of just my family background, just where my dad worked, and as a result of that, just where I spent most of my time. So I kind of always had like the best of both worlds, where it was like I was always kind of aware, like ethnicity wise, where like my family came from, but also that it was like it was in a larger context, because you can make those connections with being kids from parents who were from Africa but who were also black. and and so I feel like where there's been a lot more racial tension, and where There's been just a lot more conversations about the history of, you know, African Americans in this country. I feel like that's where the tension's been the greatest. That's just my take.
You got a take on that, Kane? Because your mic's off. Yeah, man. Like, how you feel on that?
Um, it's just something I've thought about more than once. Like if somebody was to ask me my nationality, what would I say?
Yeah, like, what do you identify as a Native American? Do you put black in there? Do you feel like you have to say you're black? You see what I'm saying? Because white people don't feel like they have to say they're white. They just say they're American. They just
But
say,
it's not just white people. If you ask
yeah,
somebody
yeah, you're
from
right.
Africa, they're not gonna say I'm black. They're gonna say I'm
Right.
Nigerian.
Yeah,
I
you're right.
am Igbo. I'm you know what I'm saying? I'm
But
this,
that's
I'm that.
that's 85% of the time, unless they're in a country where they're white people. Because like in South Africa, that might be an occurrence. But you see what I'm saying? They might be like, yeah, this person over there is black, this person is white, this person is colored. Because I think they refer to Indian people as colored, like people from India is colored over there. Because apartheid hit different over there. But that's just the only one. Other than that, like if you're in Nigeria, nobody's gonna say, "Yeah, I'm black, I'm Igbo." Like I agree with you. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Nah, Kane, you see what I'm saying? Because you started like re-rapping your, you know what I mean? Started like you ain't understand what I was saying.
No, I get it. I feel
Somebody in South Africa is gonna say I'm black, like they're not going to refer to themselves all the time as Zulu and all of that because they have black and white. They have that type of classification that's different from Nigerian and Sierra Leone and Mali and Senegal because they it's similar to us, is what I was saying. It's similar to kind of how it is over here in the US in a place like South Africa or Rhodesia. To elaborate what I was saying. You get what I was saying?
yeah.
Yeah, my bad stepping on your lines though, man. I see I rubbed you, bruh. I wasn't trying to rub you wrong, man. But look, man, that's all you had to say on that though, bro.
I mean, I saw a Burning Boy say black people here in America don't have culture. I guess because when people ask what are we say we black instead of saying like repping our tribe or whatever like you know what I'm saying like our country that we come from. So, but the funny part about that was you saw when I saw him say that I read it. I didn't see him saying it, but when I saw him again after that, he had on he looked like he was fresh out of '03, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. He had on the big baggy jeans. He had on a jersey. He had on some chains, and he had on some Timbs. So, what part of your culture is that?
Yeah.
All
You get
right.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I get what you're saying. And yeah, bro, I get what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? And before I get on that, like, man, I don't understand what I previously said that I have your face so twisted up like that, bro. But that's something that triggers me, bro. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes it's like when us as Africans say stuff, we trigger Black Americans that I have them do stuff like that, that'll make it seem like we're at odds with each other. I wasn't saying nothing to try to rub you the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? And if you felt that way, bro, I need you to kind of say that, bro. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't trying
Nah, I
to rub
mean you ain't say nothing that I don't know, I guess made me feel some type of way. It
Was it
was
me
just
stepping on your lines that did that?
yeah, it was like
Okay.
because like my short term memory is like fried. It was kind of hard for me to hang on to thoughts
See, I
sometimes.
sometimes I don't know what it is, and that's what it is. We don't know things, and instead of just asking that, we just assume something, bruh, and then you see what I'm saying? But bruh, there's an ignorance in the world. You see what I'm saying? And instead of just saying I don't know and asking the question, a lot of times we just assume out loud, bruh. And instead of just saying, hey, bruh, was it this instead of this? You know what I'm saying? We are just assuming and just have stuff twisted. And you were 100% spot on about Burner Boys thing, but that's not everybody. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times we label everybody as that. You see what I'm saying? Like when Burner Boy said that, come on, that's Burner Boy. This is somebody you have to understand his background. This is somebody who left Nigeria and went to Britain. If you understand how just British people think about Americans, you would kind of understand that. Do you see what I'm saying? Black Brits, British people feel like Americans have no culture. You see what I'm saying? So and not just British people, places that the British colonized have that type of, you see what I'm saying? Viewpoint about America. This is something that's been long standing. So if you don't understand that type of thing, you wouldn't understand that. But that is so valid, bro. That so yeah, bro. And like and there's this thing, bro. We all have moved around, bro. Like, so when you what culture do you identify with? You see what I'm saying? Do you identify with the culture that you were raised with as a child? Like, can you came from a different culture as a child than you are in now? Do you identify like, do you still feel like you're part of that culture than the one you are with now? Or you know what I'm saying? Or T, do you see what I'm saying? Do you identify
I,
with the Alabama culture versus the North Carolina culture? You see what I'm saying?
I honestly would like to have it defined for me. And I felt like because I asked this question on Facebook before, and Quad, one of the guys that T had invited on here, was one of the few people that actually commented and answered the question. And I asked like, I think I don't remember. I was like, "What is your nationality?" If someone was to ask you what your nationality was, what would you say? He said, "I would say I'm black." And I said, "Your nationality, not your ethnicity." And that was part of my question because I don't feel like people that grew up in America know the difference between ethnicity and nationality. And I feel like people like I guess Africans or I mean black people that's not from America, when you ask them where they're from, like they say, or not, you ask them like what are they or whatever, they don't say I'm black. Like I said, they say that I'm Nigerian, I'm South, I'm Sudanese, I'm this, I'm that. So that's why I'm raising the question like for I guess foundational black Americans, what is your nationality? Like what is your culture?
Okay.
Like how do you look at it? Because it seems like everybody outside of America looks at things one way, and then we are so proud to be American that Americans don't look at it like that. Like I didn't, and like I'm 30, you know what I'm saying? And I can't remember. I just know it's fairly recent before it really clicked in my head the idea that like you ask some chicks that's not black. I don't want to say foreign, but you'll ask them like, "Oh, what are you?" And then somebody'll be like, "Oh, I'm Trini, Puerto Rican, and this." And it just really clicked in my head, like maybe in the last 5 6 years, like maybe around the pandemic or so, that they were talking about places, not that those weren't races. You get what I'm saying? Like Puerto Rican isn't a race. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that type of stuff kind of made me think about who I am and where I come from, as opposed to, you get what I'm saying? And if I had a culture, what would be my culture?
And
And that's all I meant.
that's what I was about to ask, man. And I have a problem that not just Africans, but a lot of foreigners have, man. We take one thing and try to make it into something totally different, bro. You know what I'm saying? I tried to make something into something totally different because of you scratching your head and all of that, man. You know what I'm saying? But I want to touch base on like the culture shit and like what you were talking about because do you identify as the race or do you identify as the culture? I think is a question a lot of people ask and to re-ask what I think you asked about 2 minutes ago. Like, because I think you were saying you would like it to be defined for you. Because like that's something I don't know at what age is it the elementary school ages, the middle school ages, or the college ages? But knowledge itself, we know, is important to everyone. But what age does that need to be defined for an individual? You know what I'm saying? That's important though. You know, do you identify or is it important?
I feel like it is important, man, because sometimes to know where you going, you have to know where you been, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
You get what
exactly.
I'm saying?
Exactly.
And like um, some people, uh, some people grew up around a family and they know who they relatives are, but that's it. They have no idea of like nothing about their ancestors, the people that came like generations before them. They have no idea of anything like that.
Yeah.
And so like me for an example, I've had to look inwards when I kind of was going through some things and when I just had to figure some things out. Like what is my purpose? Like what am I really here to do? What is the most high trying to tell me? All this type of stuff. And sometimes, you just have to keep asking yourself the same questions until you get to a point of enlightenment. And I kind of was just thinking, like, I don't know anything really about my dad's side of the family. Like outside of my grandmother, I don't know like my cousins. I don't know like anybody besides my first aunts, my first, second. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like when you don't know who you really are or where you going or where you come from, you just start asking yourself like the real questions. You know what I'm saying? You might not even know, okay, yeah, I might be good at this because everybody in my family good at this. You know what I'm saying? I come from a long line of people who did this. And you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that can really tell you who you are. Like you know who you are because you're you and you've grown alongside yourself, if you want to speak in third person, as long as you've been alive. But you don't know who you like. You feel me? Who you are outside of what you've experienced. You know what I'm saying? Like you might think, oh, I want to play basketball or whatever, but then you might not know like your family like for 100 like for generations been good at soccer. So now you know what I'm saying? Like you have a kid, you might want to put them in soccer or something. I don't really know all of what I'm trying to say. All I know is I went through some tough times and to help like you know what I'm saying, figure out who I was. I kind of looked inward and just became curious about where I come from. You know, partly to help guide me along the way and show me my purpose and all this, but also knowing your past and where you come from can allow you to not make certain mistakes that were made, you know what I'm saying, in previous generations.
Yeah, that's real. And I'll get your take too, T, just so Phil will know where we were at. Like, do you think it's important to identify with race or to identify with the culture? Which one is?
Uh, that's that kind of it's close, man. I probably hmm, cause I don't know, cause I just feel like having people's best interests, like who look like you, is important. Whether or not they're like you consider them black or African or whatever. Um, so I would, if I had to pick, I'd say race just because it's a bigger umbrella. But but yeah, I'd probably go that route.
Not gonna lie, I probably would go with race as well, just because I mean we kind of actually kind of conditioned that way. Cause like Kanye said, even if you in a Benz, you still in a coupe. So it's like regardless of like wherever I go, whether I'm in Italy, France, somewhere where English, where that ain't got nothing to do with America or Africa, they gonna look at me as I'm black. I ain't gotta tell them I'm from Nigeria, from America, Sudanese, nothing like that, for them to know I'm black and for them to have an idea of me in mind already based on what they experience. So for black people, it's kind of hard for us to do it the other way around.
Yeah,
If I would interject, I think I would say bloodlines do matter. Um, I think we can unify on the basis of race, but the bloodlines is like ultimately where you get your DNA from. I think once we lose track of that, we lose track of like behaviors that are passed on along that blood. Um, so that's probably where I would stand at. I don't think that I think that race is something that has been created in order to kind of like categorize those to kind of like make it a little bit like more uniform to kind of like box you in a group. You know what I mean? Like, cause like, how do you explain that I'm from this particular tribe on a job application? You dig what I'm saying? Um, so race fits more into our modern society. But I think that ethnicity will give us more of a concrete understanding of where we come from and what type of people we are and like what ills or what ails, if that's the right word I'm using, like our group in general, rather than kind of like taking a broad sweep at it and then, this worked for a certain group of people, but it might not work for this group of people over here. Um, or it allows other people to kind of like, you know, blend in, and especially in like America, where you have other groups of dark skinned people that are, blended in to use, benefits that were for, other African descent, for a different African descent of people. You know what I mean? So it's just like is it like ethnicity kind of like clarifies what you kind of the uncertainty that you get within race. So, do I think race is more useful in today's time? Absolutely. But I think ethnicity, because we lost that, we can't really like attack what really is the issues that align that ails us socially.
Hey, that was a. I'm glad we had that because that's a perfect way to elaborate on some of the problems we have and some of the proposed resolutions. Like when you talk about stuff like reparations and how that would be resolved, one of the underlying factors is that, well, you have people that just came here from, Senegal, and people that just came here from Belize. Well, they're black too, and they shouldn't be entitled to this reparation money if it were, you know what I'm saying? Because weren't um, their ancestors weren't American slaves. They might have been slaves in their country. Well, they need to get reparations from Belize or, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? Wherever they're from, not American reparations. You see what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
one of the ways of solving that is definitely not race, it's ethnicity. And that's reason why culture and all of that is important, man. But